We spent our entire history praying to a god in the sky. This is the story of the week we spent building a weapon. To save it, they were not fighting men, they were fighting physics. And they would answer the death of a star with the defiance of steel. It began not with a bang or a whisper, but with a single, undeniable fact on a screen, a death sentence, written in light. Faced with the end of all things, humanity did not fracture. It became a single organism, with one mind and one will to survive. The cold did not arrive like a season. It arrived like a conqueror, claiming the last warmth of the world holding its breath. The first sign of doom was not terror, but a terrible, unnatural beauty, a disease in the heart of the heavens. The most terrifying sound in the universe is not an explosion. And there it was, the moment the universe passed its judgment. For the first time, there were no nations, no borders. The enemy had no face, no voice, no malice. It was simply a law of nature, bent into the shape of a ghost that fed on light. In the face of absolute darkness, humanity's answer was not to curse it, but to build a bigger fire.
A spear and throw it into the heart of the night.
On the first night, the sky performed a final, haunting ballet. The engines of civilization roared to life, not for commerce or for war. For decades, they were humanity's secret weapons. The truth, once released, was absolute.
Special news bulletin.
7 days. That's the stark warning.
Unprecedented global event.
On the second day, the sun rose not as a promise, but as a memory of what the world was losing. In that moment, man and machine became one. The pilot was the brain.
Titan 01.
The Titan,
Connection
the body.
successful. Ready to move.
The gods of steel walked out of their temples. They marched not to conquer lands, but to gather the very bones of the earth, to forge a shield against the void. They were the chariots of the new age, built not to carry warriors. Each launch was a challenge hurled at gravity, a scream of defiance against the silence that was coming for them all. A single silver arrow, carrying the weight of the world, flying toward a dying god. The first stone of the new temple was laid, not on hallowed ground. In the grand cathedral of space, tiny fleeting creatures began the sacred work of mending a broken heaven. The dying star would not go quietly. This was not construction, this was alchemy. The strength of a god and the precision of a surgeon, united in a body of steel and wire. From the driest deserts to the deepest oceans. A bridge was being built across the abyss of extinction, forged one piece at a time. Behind the cold interface and the complex machine, a human heart was beating, racing against the clock. On the fourth day, the cold became a physical presence. In the cold, silent hum of the machine, a mind greater than any human was waging a war of pure calculation against oblivion. The margin for error was zero. They were the anonymous heroes, floating in the dark, correcting the fate of the world with a turn of a wrench. Just when they thought they understood the enemy, it was not a random attack. It was targeted. The blacksmiths became guardians. a temporary fortress built of nothing but focused energy and sheer will to stand against the fury of a god. The clash was not of armies, but of physics. The weight of the world was no longer a metaphor. They had won the battle, but the price was time, the one resource they could never forge more of. Even gods of steel can be wounded, but their code? Every second wasted on the ground was a mountain of pressure on the shoulders of those in the sky. From the ashes of despair, a symbol had risen. On the fifth day, the world began to wear the clothes of its own funeral. A permanent winter had begun. The most familiar places became alien landscapes. A quiet. The enemy was no longer fire, but ice. In the heart of the killing cold, they found warmth only in each other. Hope now had a shape, a magnificent, impossible weapon with a single, fatal flaw, a missing heart. The final voyage, an entire species held its breath, placing all its remaining faith in a single. Even the journey to the heavens, once routine. It was a battle, not against an enemy.
Trying to hold trajectory.
They broke through the storm, leaving the chaos of a dying world behind for the cold. The heart of the weapon. The sword was placed in the hero's hand. The brain gave the command, and the heart began to beat. It was a sight no one in history had ever witnessed, a creation aiming to save its creator. Their part was done. The blacksmiths became spectators, waiting to see if the sword they had forged was sharp enough. In the final moments, there was no panic. Day and night had merged. The artificial lights were a final act of defiance, a promise that humanity would not go quietly into the endless night. The final rituals
Check
before
propulsion
battle.
systems. Check power systems. Check targeting systems.
The command from the brain was sent to the arm. The bow was drawn, the arrow was not. The architects of the plan could only watch, their fate now in the hands of the numbers and equations they had written. For the engineers, the battle was of fire and steel. From a million miles away, he carried the weight of a world on his shoulders, a world he could see in a single glance. 24 hours, the longest night in human history, had officially begun. They stood guard, the silent sentinels, watching over a world in hibernation, waiting for a sunrise that may never come. A dying jewel, placing its last hope of ever shining again in a single spark of its own making. A tireless, sleepless mind of silicon and light. The entire
We
world
interrupt this
was given
program
a
for an
time.
urgent bulletin. Firing sequence is imminent.
The briefest moment of peace. The calm breath before the plunge into history. The enemy remained, feeding, oblivious to the fact that its prey was about to fight back. The day of judgment. The sun was little more than a fading ember in the infinite dark. The cold was no longer a threat. The final hour, 60 minutes to decide the fate of a billion years of evolution. The chosen few, ready to stand for all of humanity, at the very edge of history.
All crew, report.
A single touch, an action carrying the combined weight and hope of an entire species. The final numbers, counting down to either rebirth or the final, silent end. They could not fight, but they could bear witness. Inside the heart of the weapon, a man-made sun was born, preparing to awaken a dying god.
Fire.
The button was pressed. The story was written. All that was left was to see how it ended. The power of a star, unleashed. A force of creation, not destruction. And so, humanity threw its spear into the heart of the night. 8 minutes of light, 8 minutes of travel, 8 minutes of absolute, agonizing hope. Time moves slowest when your destiny is traveling at the speed of light, and all you can do is wait. The greatest weapon in history had been fired. In that single, heartbreaking moment, the cold of space was nothing compared to the cold in the hearts of men. But a star is not a machine. It does not simply turn on. It must be, awoken. A chain reaction of impossible hope. And then, there was light. After 8 minutes of darkness, after 7 days of terror, the dawn had finally come. The warmth of life returned to the world, melting the ice of despair. They had looked into the abyss, and they had forced the abyss to blink first. The gods of steel could finally rest. Their long, arduous watch was over. It was no longer a weapon. And for all of eternity, the star would bear a scar. A memory of the children of dust and fire who refused to let it die alone.